Okay, there we go. We're live. Okay, so this is our first one that we're doing. So I just want to kind of explain the ground rules, what we're going to be doing. This is a weekly Wednesday event that we're going to be doing live webinar for, and we're just going to be going over different topics for real estate and different things that buyers, sellers, investors think about, and answer any questions that anybody has. So feel free to fire away questions in the chat and leave comments, and we'll get to those as they come in. For our first week, I'm with Connie, and we are going to be going over New Braunfels and the home affordability of the New Braunfels area. So you came up with quite a few stats here. So we'll dig right in, and if anybody has questions, just go ahead, fire away. But the real question is, can you afford a home in New Braunfels? And so we wanted to go over we looked at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and kind of what different occupations pay and how that kind of stacks up to the home prices in New Braunfels. So what did you find when you looked at the statistics of labor in our area?
So this was data from May 2025, just this past month, and the overall median was about 2850. So that's approximately 62,000 is what the median income earner makes. Household income was about 80. That individual was about 62. So for instance, maybe a teacher range 60 to 65, but police officers 5 to 85, electricians and trades like that 80 to 85, constructors 100 to 110, registered nurses 90 to 1. This is just median incomes.
Yeah, so, and of course this is also just a single income. A lot of families and homes are on dual income. So it brings it out to the approximate average single person income of 62,000, right? And so when we look at income and we look at lending and things like that, we obviously have to look at DTI, which for those who don't know is debt to income ratio, right? And so this is approximately what people are making in our area, and then how much debt and other things they have that would count against them into what they could afford in a home.
Right, so we have the front end debt to income, and then we have the back end debt to income. And specifically, what's tied to your wages is going to be the front end income. So based upon what you make, 30% of that is what you could allocate towards your mortgage, assuming you don't have other debt. So that's why knowing what an average income earner makes actually same average median, which is an important difference.
Which is not the same, yeah.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So for instance, somebody who's making about 45, they would be able to allocate about 1,100 towards their housing. So obviously, maybe not, but 1,100 is not a realistic amount to apply towards a mortgage today.
So if you were making 45,000, you would have to be on a dual income to be able to afford a home in New Braunfels, even at the starting level home.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And then we jump up to 65,000, which again, that was like teachers, police officers. That is going to be a housing budget of 1,625. And then when you jump up to maybe 90 to 100, and remember we had like our registered nurses and construction managers up at that price point, that would give you a housing budget.
So once you get up to there, it's now we're talking. 2,500 is a reasonable, realistic payment in the city of New Braunfels, and so you can get to that 100,000 a couple of ways: two different incomes, one income. It varies, but you got to be pretty much in that range of 75 to 100 grand total to be able to even think about, can I purchase a home?
Right. Which is obviously very different from even, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, right? Like that's a big difference. So.
And it depends on the area. We're talking about New Braunfels, which has seen a huge upswing over the last 6-7 years, and then a huge downswing in the last 2 to 3. So, 2-3 years ago, you would have to have even more income because housing was so much more. But with the rates being higher now, prices coming down, and it's becoming more affordable for a lot of people that maybe don't think they can still afford a home.
Right. So it's good to know. Really, I mean, um, we were talking about the approximate of a single would be 62, but what we were finding for dual would be about 85. So most dual incomes could afford entry in.
Yeah. So one thing to keep in mind, I don't think is on the notes, but if we're looking at what we can allocate towards the home payment, so if you're making about 8,000 a month, you can put about 2,500 towards that. Now that's in general, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that have $1,000 car payment, and that is
Right.
definitely going to cost against you. You know,
Right.
so all of those toys and things you have that well, a car is not a toy, but you know, if you have a travel trailer, you have a boat, anything you have financed can definitely change these numbers.
Right, which is why we were talking about specifically the front end, because there is the back end ratio,
Mhm.
and well,
Okay, good. All right. All right. Um, so when we look at, okay, let's say viewers are they're at 75 to 100,000, right?
Mhm,
Okay, so they're in
mhm.
that range where it's like, okay, our household could maybe afford to do that. Um, how does that set, like, what kind of home in New Braunfels are they going to get? What does the market look like in New Braunfels with that kind of a payment?
Okay. So I think most people who live here in New Braunfels are going to be familiar with the area, but there are a lot of hopefully viewers who are not as familiar. So you can commute into New Braunfels, and the reason that I'm saying that is because New Braunfels has a huge range on price point. We're specifically talking about city limits of New Braunfels. We've got a little bit of a tighter, but once you start going out, even just right, obviously like 2 to 5 miles,
Yeah,
the prices
it
can
changes
vary a
hugely.
lot.
Yeah.
So if we're talking about city of New Braunfels, what we were finding this is over the past 3 months, the median sales price was between 340 to 367. Past 3 months, 98% of those properties that were listed sold to list price, so you aren't really seeing a big cut in prices. Um,
So hold on, pause right there.
yep,
Okay,
yep.
so what that means, 98% sold to list. Just to explain it a little bit deeper. So what that means is, let's say a home is listed at 350,000, right in the
Mhm,
middle of that kind of
mhm.
median range. If it's listed at 350, then it's selling for about 340,
Three.
342, 343.
Well,
Okay,
that's.
who's doing math? What in the world?
I'm just saying. Yes.
Did you have that on your notes? Because I
No,
don't
no,
have
I
that.
did not.
That was like, wow. All right. So 343 is
Mhm.
what it's selling at. So you can see in general, um, sellers are negotiable on what they're listing it at, but not a ton. And that might shock some people because
Mhm.
a lot of people think right now with the large inventory that we have
Mhm.
and houses kind of sitting longer that sellers would be more negotiable maybe than they actually are, and that could be true in other places. I mean, I think if you go outside of the city of New Braunfels, I think you find some more negotiating there
For sure.
because this is a desirable area. The
Mhm.
788130 zip code
Mhm.
is popular. Lots of people moving here,
Mhm.
so you don't see as much negotiation as you do in other places, and so that's why you see 98% of list price is what they actually sell it at. So you might get a 2% discount, but if you're looking for a house and it's at 350 and you want to offer them 300, probably not going to happen.
I don't know if anybody ever. I mean, unless it was really overpriced. But yes, yes,
Well, I mean, there's, I mean, hey, all they can do is say no, right?
yes. I encourage my people not to do things like that. But
Yes,
yes,
true.
yes,
Yeah. You don't want to
definitely.
insult them to the point where they won't even negotiate with you, especially if it's the one, the house
Right,
you love,
love,
right? You
right.
don't want to go in and completely lowball them and then they say, nope, we're not even going to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Not a good way to enter.
yeah. So how in 78130, how many active listings are there actually right now?
So I looked at Sabor for this, so our
Okay.
MLS for this, and there are about 1,500 active listings in this price range, in the
Okay.
median price range. I'm sorry, no. 900 within that price range, 1,500 total within inside the city.
Okay, so 900 of them are within the, let's say,
Median.
340 to 370 range. That is kind of your median range. And then there's 600 of them that are either below or probably mostly above, right? There might be some that are some below that, some of your older homes, smaller homes, that sort of thing in those neighborhoods. And then there's a bunch of them that are way higher, I believe, and that kind of may skew that median a little bit. So if you're watching and you're thinking 350 to 340 to 370 is crazy, there's no way I could do that. That doesn't mean that's the entry. That means that's kind of the median, which is not the average. The average is probably a little bit lower. Or maybe higher, actually.
I was gonna say, I think
Yeah, maybe
higher.
higher because
Yeah.
there's more of them that are on the higher end than the lower end. But regardless, the point is if you think that price is out of reach or out of touch, it doesn't mean there's not something that is within your reach.
Correct,
Yeah.
right? And we'll for like what this amount actually breaks down to payment wise in just as well. But I think the last thing I wanted to go over the typical home in New Braunfels was how long they're sitting on the market. So medium days to pending is 57 days. That means from when it lists to when they receive an active
When they get
offer
an offer.
is 60 days.
60 days.
Which, I mean, I'm interested to hear what you think about that, because as a newer agent, to me, I don't think that's actually a property sitting too long. Like that does, to me, when I see that,
Yeah.
I'm thinking I can't go and look at a property or look at properties for like 2 months before I pick something. I have to look at something if this is in my price point decision.
Yeah.
How
Well,
would you say
first,
that
what
compares
what
to-
that means is a couple of years ago, you could see a property and say, I really like this, but I'm going to wait for them to lower the price, and it would work. You know what I mean? Because they were on the market a long time ago. Now, I mean, I'm not saying things are completely recovered and things are completely great, but now, especially in this zip code we're talking about, that's not the case anymore. It is completely likely that somebody else will go in and buy that house. Now, they may not pay full price, but waiting for the
Yeah.
listing agent to actually lower the price is not effective anymore. And again, this is the median days on market. You know, there's still a lot of people listing their homes higher than, you know, maybe their agent's advising them. And that one will sit for a while. I saw a stat. It was, I think it was Comal County. It was the whole county, and it was at 120 days average.
For them to get under contract?
Under contract.
Okay.
Well, no, I take that back. To close.
To
So
close,
there's an
yeah.
extra 30 days in there, right? Ish. But it would still be about 90 days until they got the offer if they close at 120. So 60 to 90, it's an extra month on the market in Comal as a whole. And if you know a lot about real estate in Comal, you know that up by the lake, some of the $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 homes, those are sitting for quite a while. Just not a lot of buyers in that market right now. So that can definitely skew the numbers. But you know, 60 days. Now you mentioned, you know, being newer in it, it doesn't seem like a lot, but for those of us that were around in 2020 to 2022, 10 days was a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean? If it was on the market for 10 days, it was like, why don't I have 3 offers?
Yeah, but that was like a peak, right? I guess
oh, yeah,
I'm kind of
absolutely,
curious what it was like 15 years ago, you know,
It-
before,
well,
or 12 years ago.
Just
you
like
know?
just like with home costs and rates that are completely cyclical, you know, they go up and down. You see the time on market react accordingly.
Right.
And so to say, well, there's an average or a normal, there just really isn't. It changes all the time.
Especially in a growing area.
Yeah,
Right.
in the 78130 zip code, it's been growing for at least 15 years. Well, I mean, you know,
At
been
what rate?
rapidly growing
Yeah,
for
right.
10 years at least. And so because of that, you know, it's like it's been lower here a lot, but in you know, say 22 to 24, 25, even now, it's a lot longer than I think many agents that have been in it about 10 years. It's been longer than they've ever seen. And so a lot of people aren't used to it, agents and sellers alike, you know. probably a lot of people selling now bought when it was, it was,
they
had to go
jump.
now, go now,
Right.
go now.
Right.
And now they're trying to sell and they're thinking, well, wait a minute, this wasn't what it was like when I bought,
Right.
and it's
Right.
not the same. And so sellers are kind of shocked by that, and buyers can take advantage of it though. Nobody wants their home to sit for even 60 days. When you list your home, you want it to sell. And
Buyers
so
can take advantage within reason, 98%.
yeah, within reason. Yeah. But I mean, sellers are more motivated now than they have been historically in this area, and so and like we said, with 1,500 active listings, there's a lot of competition for sellers out there, and so buyers, it's a good time for them to take advantage of their options.
So there was this stat that I thought was interesting because it said the 57 days to pending, but also, again, this is in City of New Braunfels, 120 days to closing. So that means, like, typically, like you said, when something goes under contract, it closes within 30 days.
Yeah.
But if you've got a median day of 120, that means people might be going under contract and actually be willing to wait 2-3 months before they actually close.
Yeah.
That's
Now, why do
crazy.
you think it's almost 60 days to close on average?
Well, I think because they're buying and selling. Like I think that the sellers are having to negotiate, right? Like they're having to say, I'll cover an extra month here to give you time to get in. Maybe they're doing lease backs. I know that in some of the ones that is, like, even when I'm talking to agents, they're saying, well, the ideal time for my clients to be out is this time. Right?
Yeah.
So I have to consider that when I'm like making an offer. And maybe that's, hey, I need a jump. And sometimes it's like, no, they really want to be in here until they buy, even if it's on the market right.
Yeah. Well, I think some of it too is contingent offers.
Oh,
so when somebody has to sell a home and they want to buy a home and they find the one they love before theirs is sold, then it's going to take longer, right? And so I think there's a lot of that. And the fact is,
and then
is
they
that
fall apart. So that could also
exactly.
be
So if you have a contingent offer, meaning I'll buy your home if I can sell my home, right? And that takes some time because not only is it taking 60 days for them to get that offer, but you need 60 days to get an offer on your home, and so that can delay the process. It's not all just the lender taking longer than 30 days, which sometimes they do, but typically a lender can get it done in a 30-day period.
Yeah, and that's a really good point because that is something that, like, you should be able to use to your, like, that's something that people should be able to realize that that's what being in a buyer's market is, right? Like a seller maybe a couple years ago would not even entertain that thought of saying, I'm willing to wait to see if your house will sell. That's kind of crazy.
They would not do that a few years ago. Right. Not at all. They would probably already have another backup offer or an offer come in at the same time that didn't have that contingency, and they would say no. So so I think that is kind of contributing to that because it doesn't typically take 60 days just to do a straight close on a house. It doesn't take that long.
I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. What's the next point?
Now we're tying it together. So now we're talking about, okay, we know what people are earning and we know what houses are costing, but how do those numbers actually work? So what's the affordability here? So what we're going to be focused on for the stats that I pulled here are FHA financing, 3.5% down with a 6% interest rate. And then we're looking at property taxes. I put in here 1.25%. So like with homestead, City of New Braunfels, that sort of thing. And I put the typical insurance at about $1,500, which I know some of it's higher, but that's what I'm basing affordability on. But when we're tying that together, I'm going to read these off, or you want me to read them off?
I'll read them off. Okay. But first, so let me say, because you mentioned the property tax, right? And everybody that lives in the state of Texas thinks that property taxes are too high. I don't think there's any contingency there. But maybe a lot of people that haven't bought a house before that are looking at their first house, maybe you don't realize that most areas have about a 2% tax rate, some a little higher, some a little lower, depending on where you are. But you look at that and you're like, oh, okay, a $300,000 house, that's $6,000 a year. That's a lot of money. Yes, it is. But if it's your primary home, you can homestead it, and that
Mhm.
drops a big chunk of that off because it's your homestead, it's your personal home. The only people that should be paying 2% or whatever it is in that area are people who are renting it out, investors,
Investors.
that sort of thing.
Mhm.
That's the way the tax code is set up, so that people that are making money on a property pay more than people who live in it as their personal home. So while a lender also, when you're going through this, so if you're doing an FHA at 3.5% down with
Mhm.
6% interest, a lender is going to have to look at the tax straight out what it is.
Mhm.
They cannot necessarily look at, oh, well, once you file your homestead, it's going to be this. They have to look at the whole number
They
most of
can.
the time.
I was gonna say they can. Yeah, they can.
Yeah,
With the FHA, they'll say like, I have a
yeah,
couple.
yeah. But what I'm saying is you got to talk to the lender about it.
Right.
Like a lot of times, I've had lenders that like when it's close, I'm like, well, what do you have for tax?
Yeah.
Oh, well, the tax there is 2%.
And
I'm
you're
like, well, yeah, but they're
no.
going to homestead.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
so a lot of times lenders don't necessarily automatically take that into consideration,
Mhm.
which is a reason why you need an agent that knows what they're doing.
That's true. Yes.
So that they can work with the lender.
Yes.
And a lot in agents, like, I mean, when we're showing houses, we need to have a pre-approval to put in the, so a buyer has to talk to a lender, but you should have an agent at the same time, because the agent, not only do they know a lot of lenders, but they know how to work with them and what to tell them and make sure that they are, it's
Running
another
it
set
right.
of eyes that
Yeah.
I'm not saying that lenders aren't professionals and don't know what they're doing.
No.
I'm just saying it's another set of eyes to make sure that everything is working out in the buyer's advantage.
Yeah, because we have a lot of taxing jurisdictions, a lot of different taxing
yes.
jurisdictions. So it's important. Like, I can't just say, oh, they're going to be buying in 78130 and assume that the rate is across the board the same.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
And I have seen lately lenders that are directly looking at the tax rate.
Right, because it makes a big difference.
As a I can't give you a pre-approval until you tell me the area, so I know what it's going to be. Now, obviously, this has been like with first-time buyers when money's a little tight, right? We're trying to get the deal done, and they're saying, I can't give you a dollar amount for a pre-approval until I know what their tax is going to be, because it is a big chunk of what you're paying every month.
Right.
So, so all that to say,
good agent, good lender.
Good agent, good lender, and don't be scared by the tax rate, because it's going to come down.
Oh, as a first-time homebuyer. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so the numbers that we got. Let's see how this reads. So somebody who's making like 45,000, right, has an affordability, and this is just single income 45,000 of about 170 to 190. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Compare that to the 350 average or median in New Braunfels. That's a problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of a gap there. Once you get up to like 60,000, right, our kind of our teacher range or so, then you're at about 235 to 260. So there's a gap to the median, but that's not to say that it's not possible. There are homes that are in that range right now.
Right.
So that's the 60,000 mark, I think, is where it's like, okay, this is the base of what you're going to need to be able to legitimately look at houses and get a pre-approval.
Should we talk a little bit about what they should expect in that price point?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about that. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
So, for that price point, if you're familiar with the area, you would probably be looking at homes in maybe around the Fish Park area. You'll get a lot of starter homes there that are going to, maybe under 1,500 square feet, 1,100, 1,600 square feet on sell homes. New construction, you're still going to be getting a little bit smaller homes as far as the square footage, and a little bit further out, but you might get some new upgrades. But still, you're going to be looking at homes that are maybe 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,500 square feet and below.
Yeah, and I would say, if you're thinking about buying a home, and you're like, well, I don't really want like an older home or a smaller home, but if it'll work, buy it. Mm-hmm. Because it's not, no one said it's your forever home. Mm-hmm. And almost everybody I know started with a small 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,400 square foot home, and got equity, sold it, got the home they're in now, or
two
you know,
bedrooms, two bath, 1,100 square feet.
There you go, exactly. I mean,
Exactly.
whatever you can get into it.
Yep.
Because it, like I said, it might not be forever, and it usually isn't. The national average for time in a home that's owned is 7 years. And so if you look at it that way, like this is an investment in my future wealth. That's what this is for. Then it doesn't really matter. I mean, obviously you want the home to be in decent upkeep, right?
Which is why you want an agent.
Yep. And they want to do an inspection and hey, let's look at these things. And even though you're going to do an inspection later, right? You need a good agent that knows what they're looking at when you walk into a house just to view it. And you know, you see, I was showing my daughter and my future son-in-law houses, and they are at that, you know, we're this is our first home. We cannot afford much. And, you know, we walk in these houses and they're like, this is pretty nice. And I'm like, do you see the cracks in the tape? Do you see this and that? Cracks on the exterior brick? Hey, this house has foundation problems and I don't even need an inspector for that, you know? So that's why you want a good agent to be able to guide you through and get you away from homes before you even get into a contract and then have an inspection. And all those things come out and it wasted your time and everything. So the idea that if you have 60,000, you're making 60,000 and you're buying at the bottom, if that's what you can do it, because 5-10 years from now you're going to have equity in that home. I'm not trying to guarantee anything to anybody, but the fact of the matter is when you look at real estate, it goes up and down, but over the scale it's always going up. So you know, you sell it when the time is right. You make yourself a chunk of money, and or if you're doing better in 5 to 10 years and you can rent it out, you know, you could even take a line of credit, take a HELOC out on that house to pay the down payment for the new house. There's a lot of things that you can do, but if it's just not, like, if the house is not the one, that doesn't mean you shouldn't become a homeowner.
Yeah, I feel like that's the number one thing I tell people, like, often. I'm like, you're probably not going to find the one, and even if you think it's the one, in 2 or 3 years it's probably not going to be.
And if you find the one that you're going that is for rent, and you're going to rent instead of buy, it might be a really nice house, but you're going to be throwing away $2,500 a month on rent when you should be paying that on a mortgage. Yeah. And building your wealth up. Okay,
so teachers, you can buy a home.
Teachers, right? Yes, you can buy a home. Even and if you're not a teacher and you make 60,000, you can too. You don't have to be a teacher.
Yeah, well, right. You start paying $60,000.
So when you get up higher, though, when you get to like 75, you're really close to that median. Depending on other expenses, right? If you have, you know, your car payment, those sorts of things. Depending on those, you can definitely afford a home in New Braunfels. Once you get to 90 and 100, then it's definitely affordable for that median home. You're definitely in that range where you can afford to buy a home in New Braunfels.
And that's for the front end.
Yeah. So. Now, should we talk a little bit about the down payment? Because what we did was FHA at 3.5% down. So a lot of people think the down payment is huge and you got to have a lot of money. And conventionally, and you know, the way things were 20 years ago or so, you would have to put 20% down. And if you can afford that, it's great. But if you're looking at $350,000, that's $70,000, and that for a lot of first-time home buyers is a big ouch, right? It's like, ooh, man, that's tough. If you have the money to do it, it's always a good idea in my mind to do it, because then you have a little bit of equity to start with, right? So if something happens and you have to get out of it, you got a little buffer. Your payment's going to be lower every month, right? But for a lot of people, that's not possible, and that's why you chose this. The 3.5%, because you like it.
Yeah, well, I like it especially because right now we have higher interest rates.
Yeah.
Right. So I feel like if you can get into a home with as little money as you can, then you should get into a home.
Yeah.
Right. And so I guess for me it was like when we were talking about can we afford homes in New Braunfels? Yeah, we should talk about down payment. You probably need about 10,000, and you can get into it. You know, 8,000 on people with 8,000, right? So, it is pretty affordable. But yeah, that's why I have the 3 there, and it's. I mean, we're going to talk about closing costs as well, but right now,
are we going to get to that? Okay, then I'll leave it alone for now.
It's in here. It's
all right.
in here.
Okay, good. All right, I'll leave it alone for now then, because I was about to head right into it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So, yes, 8 to 10,000.
So put a pin in that if you're watching along. Put a pin in that.
Do we have viewers?
There are things that you can do.
Viewers. Yes. Okay.
So there's things that you can do, and we'll get to that in a little while. But I just wanted to bring up the fact that a lot of people may think that they got to have a huge amount of money, and for some people 10,000 maybe is a huge amount of money. I'm not not judging anybody anyway or not, but 70,000 and 10,000 is a huge difference. So I want to make sure people understand that you don't have to have that $70,000 to buy a home. It's just not necessary anymore. There's so many programs, and not only that though. That 3.5 is kind of a newer thing. It used to be 5, but there are a lot of lenders that are offering incentives to first-time buyers that can alleviate even some of that 3.5%. So, yeah, but we'll put a pin in that. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, I didn't put down payment assistance, but we can talk about it.
Yeah,
that time.
We'll talk about it when we do closing costs and stuff. So,
awesome.
Yeah. So, what's next?
Let's see. Ultimately, I think just for this was letting us know that although there are some people who can afford a home on their own, most people, for you to get between that sweet spot that you're seeing a lot of homes, 350 to 375, you're going to probably have to be a dual household income, either high individual or dual household. It's pretty much, just something to keep in possible.
Which is super common.
Yeah.
Most households are dual income. The way even rent is these days. It's you have to have income and groceries and utilities and all the things. That it's very common. So, and it says that 83,000 is kind of if you want that median home, 83,000 is more kind of like the defined number that you need to be at. And the median income we said for the area was like 62
for individual.
For individual, yeah, okay.
And for dual household incomes here, it is like 85.
Okay.
So it's like
so the average person could afford the median person could afford the median home in New Braunfels.
The median person
could, or the median
if they have
household.
A good realtor, they can.
Okay, all right, good.
Okay,
just had to throw that in there one more time.
Yes, every time. Okay. So what's interesting, I guess the next topic is what are buyers doing to bridge that affordability gap? Because there are obviously people who are below the median, and then people who, when we were even looking at the median income, it's like, man, this is tight. Like, how are we going to do this? So, you want to go over some of these?
Yeah, we can go over those. So this is kind of part of what we were just talking about. So negotiating concessions, right? So if you've never bought a house before and you don't know the process, a good agent in this market is going to be negotiating concessions. And what are concessions? This is money that the seller is going to give you, right, so that you can pay for certain things from the net proceeds. Yes. So you might offer $350,000 on the house, but you might ask them for $10,000 in closing costs or concessions. You can use this towards a lot of different things. You can use it to buy the interest rate down. You can use it to pay for your inspections. On the back end, you're going to have to pay for them up front, but on the back end, you can put that money towards that. There's costs associated with title and title insurance and lender's title insurance and closing costs from the lender, and there's all these little fees that you can apply that towards so that it will alleviate the out of pocket that you have to pay.
Lowering monthly obligations, which we'll get into the next one. This is one thing that I'm having a lot of conversations about. It's just sometimes when you're looking at debt to income back end, and then there's the front end and the back end. What we've been focused on is the front end, just how much you make tied to how much you can pay for your. Then lenders also look at how much you make and how much you have all of your financial credit.
and that's the back end.
That right.
And the back end is basically all of your fixed bills. So you have credit cards, you have a car payment, all of those things, they're going to deduct from your gross income so they can see what fixed bills you have every month, and do you have enough left over to pay the mortgage.
So I've been getting pretty creative with some people who are trying to purchase. I'm sorry, that took a while to get out, right? And so like they just have credit card debt for no reason, right? They have the money to pay the card debt off, and they've been saving this money because they think they're going to need the money to buy the house, but really what's keeping them from buying the house is the credit card debt.
It's the debt to income.
Right.
Yeah. So you're having to pay $300 a month on a credit card, and that is, if you look at that, equating it to a mortgage, $300 a month on a mortgage is like $40,000 worth of house that you can afford or not afford, right?
That's the difference.
So if you pay that $15,000 off that you owe on the credit card that you're paying $300 a month on, you can afford a lot more house. And
it's not even 15. Like honestly, I've seen people where it's like a lot of little ones, you know, but then all of
they add up to $300-$400 a month. Yeah, that's pretty common. And so if you clean a few of those things up, then it's much easier for a lender to get you approved. And then the other thing is like car payments. Everybody's got, well, almost everybody's got a car payment these days, because who can buy a car outright? But when I just bought my house last month, I owed $5,500 on my wife's truck, and it was $530 a month. So we definitely paid that off, because it's like $5,500 and save $530 a month and increase the debt to income. It was like a no-brainer, right? You have to you want to do that so that you look like you can afford it much better.
Yeah, that's definitely the number one obstacle preventing people from buying right now is their auto payments and their personal debts, credit cards, and auto payments. It's ridiculous how expensive vehicles are. It's ridiculous how expensive they are. $700. First time I saw that, like, I'm a New Year agent, right? So the first time I was like having a heart attack, because my husband is like, no way, right?
Yeah,
like, we're
not
happening.
that.
It's just so common. Everybody's like $700, $800. So I'm definitely like, oh, we're refinancing that and lower that payment. We're refinancing that and lowering that payment. So that's what people are doing to afford, or to bridge the gap, is monthly obligations.
Now, and vehicles are one of those things that you don't necessarily have to pay off. If let's say you owe $7,000 on your vehicle, you're paying $500 a month, and you have like 2 years left or whatever to pay it off. You can refinance that at like 5 or 6 years. Yes, it's going to take you longer to pay it off, but it's going to drop your payment by $150 a month easy, right? And now your debt to income went from that $500 hit to $350. Right? Well, now you got an extra $150 a month to put towards the DTI, the debt to income that you need to afford the home. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Credit cards, unfortunately, just have to be paid off, but cars and trucks you can refinance and not, you don't have to come out of pocket anything.
Can I say it one more time? I'm going to say it one more time. That's why you get a good realtor. Because we look at the whole picture.
We look at all of those things.
Yeah, you look at it all. Like, some of the lenders just don't have time necessarily. They run it through a system, and the system says, oh, just pay this off, and that's it. Yep. And it's like, no, let's look at your whole picture.
What's most advantageous? Because they might just say, well, we need to pay this credit card off, but you have 4 of them, you know, and pay a credit card off. Well, which one's the best to do? Or you got to pay this car off. Well, should I pay it off? Or, am I still going to have the money left over for the down payment if I pay it off? No, then I need to refinance it, right? So there's a lot of different things that you can do. And that is something a realtor, again, another set of eyes, right? Another, like, let's talk about this. Let's figure it out. In order to do that, though, you have to be honest with your realtor.
Yes.
You have to tell them what's going on. And then to go back to the concessions, that's another reason a realtor is good, because we can tell you more like, okay, this is the price. We can't just offer them this. What if we were in the middle of that and asked for closing costs? This is actually going to save you money, because if I get, let's say it's a $300,000 house, and I get 30,000 off of the asking price, I feel like I'm doing good. But that 30,000 was mostly going to be in the loan anyway, and so that 30,000 is only coming out to like $200 a month or something like that on your payment. Whereas if I get $10,000 in closing costs, that's $10,000 out of pocket. You don't have to come out, so you get to keep the money.
And maybe
right?
pay off the credit cards.
And maybe pay off the credit card with it or whatever, right? So there's different things that you can do to try to make that deal work, and you need a good agent to walk you through that for sure.
Yep.
What else did we have on there? Oh, comparing new construction to resale. So while we're talking about the negotiation of a realtor, you know, looking at new construction or resale, they're two completely different markets right now. You have sellers that are generally a little bit more negotiable on price and concessions, and you have builders that are not very negotiable on price, but do have a lot of good incentives. They do a lot for closing costs. They have good rates. They'll buy the rate down automatically below like that 6% that we said before. They'll
3.9.
Yeah, I had somebody at 3.8. So you can get sub 4 right now, which maybe a lot of people don't know that's even actually out there, and some builders are offering that. And you have to, again, a realtor knows, okay, what builder are we going to target and which community has the best offers right now. Trust me, because those new home sales consultants are knocking on our door, calling us every single day, trying to give us information to bring them buyers. So they give us a lot of information that we can share with our buyers about what neighborhoods might have the best incentives and might be the best fit for whatever that buyer needs.
And those incentives change like week to week.
Yes,
Because
they do.
at the end of the day, they're the businesses, and so they're it's just straightly based off of what they're sold, what they're available. Those incentives change week.
Yes. Yeah, and when you're going to buy, when you look at a home and these are the incentives, it's like decisions have to be made, because you wait until, like, I just put one for a new homeowner under contract on the 16th of May, and they had that going through the end of the month. You had to close by the end of the month. And I was like, are y'all going to be able to do it in 2.5 weeks?
Or they're pulling.
Yeah, or they're gonna, or they take that incentive away. Now they might be able to apply whatever the new month incentive is, but it's not going to be as good, maybe, or who knows? You know what I mean? So all of those things come into play. And again, what did you say? Got to have a good realtor for that.
Yes. How many times are we gonna plug it? We're gonna go back and count this.
Over and over. Yeah. Okay. So I think that was it for that one, right? Okay. So the number one obstacle preventing people from buying. We talked about a bit, right? Yeah, we said the auto payment. That's always a thing. By the way, side note, if you're looking at buying a house, don't get a loan on anything, period. Don't start a new credit card. Don't put things on your credit card. Don't buy a new car. Don't buy a boat. You can't do any of those things, or it's gonna kind of ruin those things. I mean, it could not. It's just not a good idea until you have a pre-approval, you're under contract, and you know where you're at, and then wait until you close, and then you can go, buy yourself that new car as a present for your new house.
So looking at this, and we talked about auto payment and personal debt, but really what you're saying makes much more sense, is to have a conversation, right?
Yes.
The number one obstacle preventing people from buying is that they are scared to have a conversation.
And just get started.
Yeah. See where you're at and see where you need to go. That's probably, I have had several people that just after we have the conversation, it's like, no, you're ready to go. You're ready to go. You can afford a home. You just didn't realize it. Or you thought you couldn't, or, like I said before, you think it's going to be a ton of money out of pocket. So, I need to save money. Well, and my personal feeling is, this isn't like applying for an auto loan online or something like that, or applying for a credit card online. It's not going to immediately hit your credit. You're not going to take a ding on anything if all you do is have a couple of conversations with a realtor and a lender. We do it all the time. I mean, obviously it's our job, right? But realtors are not
against just talking.
Mm-mm.
You know, I mean, you're not. Most of us are
Mm-mm.
not super pushy people. It's
Mm-mm.
you know we're here to help, and if you need something and you want to ask some questions, that's what we're here for. Now, some of those questions will end up being you know like questions for a lender,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll you know we can give you a few lenders that we've worked with that we sort of you know we trust that we can that you know it's like hey you can ask this person some questions and they're not going to try to hard sell you on well let's get you pre-approved, let's get your credit, those sorts of things. They're going to just answer questions at first and and feel each other out,
Mm-hmm.
see where you're at, what might work, and we're happy to do that. It's
100%.
it's what we want to do is help people. I think everybody in our office has said like we really love first time buyers.
Yes.
Not only because it's a fun process to
It's so
watch them
rewarding.
become
Yeah.
a homeowner, but you know first time buyers need the help and the guidance, and they need somebody to really walk them through it, and it is the most fun for I think for agents, at least our agents. We really enjoy you know taking
Mm-hmm.
care of people and seeing that closing day and being able to celebrate that. It's a lot of fun.
Yes. Super rewarding.
Yeah.
So start the conversation with you
Yeah.
want the I think that's about it. The last one was um in that home.
Yeah, if buyers have more inventory, more negotiating power. Yes. Now, and I'll say that like so most of the homes that we see in the 78130, we have talked about and we said that they were, you know, they close at about 98%. But that doesn't that's the median, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are homes out there that you can negotiate on and you
Mm-hmm.
can you can get deals on. So if you're on Zillow and you're looking like at the home and it says, well, it's 350, but you know, I think I can only afford 320. That doesn't necessarily mean it's out of the question. Um, there may have to be some negotiating, some hard negotiating by the agent, but it doesn't mean it's out of the question. So if you're looking and you're thinking, man, all of these prices are just unattainable, it's just kind of crazy. Um, I would say you need to reach out
Mm-hmm.
and get some information because there are things that can be done, and you can more target. You know, we said 60 days was the average to contract, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, as realtors, we can go on the MLS and we can look at the ones that are above that. You know, what's
Mm-hmm.
been on the market for 120, 140 days because those people are ready to deal.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually ready to deal. So we can target those specific properties so that we're in a demographic that is going to be more susceptible to negotiation and get the price down to where you need it to be.
And
So
I think another thing is that if you're in this median price point, buying a home is maybe not very um, definitely because although the median day is 57, there are homes that are going in 40, homes that are going up 7 days. Like that is a very real thing. Priced right, they're jumping on it. Right? Like yeah, you
yeah,
do have a lot of don't have a lot of good inventory at that price point. Um, you know, I had a I was telling Matthew I working with this week, and they had their top runner on resale, and then the top runner on new construction, and they said they were about it over the Monday.
yeah.
So you definitely
If
want
it's priced right, it's moving, and
it's
and
yeah.
it really comes down to the seller and if they're willing to accept the market for what it is, right? And say, okay, if this is all it's worth, then let's list it at that. A lot of people are still kind of holding out, well, or they think that somebody's going to come in and give them a really low offer, so I'm going to set the price higher
Mm-hmm.
so that I have that wiggle room. And unfortunately, what that does is
It's
it
kind of
makes
go
that
stale.
house sit there for 120 days until they're willing to accept it and bring the price down. Um, and that hurts a home, honestly. But I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's good for a buyer because
Mm-hmm.
they end up typically selling for less than they could have if they would have just priced it right in the beginning. So
Yeah, yeah. But all
that's
that, like, yeah, definitely. Even in Because did you see? You saw the article that said, "Oh, this person had did the entire transaction without through AI without a
Yeah, so
realtor,
there's somebody in
right?"
Florida or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So what they didn't say about that was that when you actually went and looked at the market value of that home, that they lost like 50,000 on it,
yeah.
right? And
They
then
just sold
so
it so low, and then it was like, oh, it sold fast, and I used AI. And it's like, yeah, but if you're 20% under market, of course it sold.
yeah. So,
Yeah,
do you need a realtor? Yes, you need a realtor.
yeah,
Especially in New Braunfels, is very competitive. 98% of the properties are selling if they're in and getting under contract in under 60 days if they're priced right. So, let us help you find the right homes that are priced right, put in strong offers, and not lose.
yep. Okay, so I have one question off the cuff. What do you think is the number one thing stopping buyers from reaching out and trying to buy a home? What's the number one thing you think in your mind?
The noise. I think
The
it's
noise?
yeah, I think it's the noise, right? Like just all the I don't know. You just hear a
All the
lot
people on
of
the news
yeah.
telling you the market's terrible, we're all gonna
Oh,
die.
the news and Facebook and everything, right?
Yeah.
Like reprogram your algorithms and put us there, please.
Yeah.
Because you're hearing a bunch of BS out there.
Yeah,
It's
that
the
is true.
noise, I
That is
think.
true. Yeah, I mean, if you watch Fox or CNN, they're talking about markets are terrible. There's no oil move, and don't get me wrong, that stuff is real. But at the same time, the world doesn't stop. I
Mm-mm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
you still, if you buy a house today, you're still gonna think it was a good decision in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me.
Plus, we're
Um,
also talking about microeconomics, right?
yeah,
What's it's very different here than it might
other
be.
places in the country
Yes,
for sure.
yes,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
I think there's two big reasons why people don't want to. One, I think all the rate talk scares them, right? But if you look at rates over a 10,
Historically.
12 year
Mm-hmm.
period, 6% is not horribly high. And if you go to a new build and you get in at 4.5 or less, that's a good rate. Some people might be spoiled from a few years ago when it was, you could get it at 3.5 easy. But that's not normal. And
Yeah,
I don't have a crystal ball or anything, but that's not coming back in my opinion. Not
not
for a long, long
threes.
time.
Not, not.
Way longer than you want to wait to get into a home,
Mm-hmm.
for sure. So rates and down payment, I think, is the other thing that people just are afraid of. Even if they have $10,000, $15,000 and they could, a lot of people just they
Hold the
hold the
money.
money, right?
Right.
It's like my rainy day, right?
Yep.
Just in
Yep.
case I just want to have that nest egg. And my thing is this is that while I understand and respect that, the only way to build wealth and retire comfortably, the easiest, most used way in this country is not a 401k, it's not a
Yeah.
Roth IRA, it is home ownership.
Mm.
And so, if you really want to set yourself up for the future, buying a home is the way to do it. Even if it means you have to kind of take from the piggy bank and your rainy day fund and do that. And then the other thing I would say is that you can you can always in a couple years, if you need money, and you have equity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if you buy now while the rates are high and the prices are down, you're more likely to have equity than if you bought in 22 or 2021. You don't have equity. You're upside down in that house. You owe more than it's worth, and you can't sell it. You can't pull equity from it. You can't do anything right now.
You know what? I had this lady saving for 8 years to buy a home, thousands.
Good for her.
Yes, very good for her. She bought a home with 12,000.
And she
She
realized she could have done that 4 years ago.
she paid off her car, so she eliminated that car payment. It's a really healthy,
That's
right?
awesome.
And she's
Yeah,
paying less than she was renting.
yeah, that's great.
I know,
Yeah,
I know. So stop listening to the noise.
yeah,
Find a house that's in your budget
yeah,
and trust
yeah.
that it
Don't
will
don't try to
go.
overextend yourself just
Yeah,
because you really love that
yeah.
house.
There's so many.
You don't
There's
want to do
enough
that.
options. There's enough
Yeah,
options. Just buy
yeah,
your right now home. Your next home will
yeah,
be different.
yeah. And you can. I mean, if you've never owned a home and you don't understand equity, right? So if you owe 300,000 on a house and the house is worth 400,000, you have 100,000 of equity, right? And you can borrow on that. Most lenders will hold you to 80% of the value, so you could get, you know, maybe $40,000 of equity out, and there's still 60,000 worth of equity in the home because lenders don't want to overextend themselves, which is good because then you don't overextend yourself. But you know, you could have $40,000 worth of workable stuff there. I did this on a previous home that I owned. The rate for a home equity line of credit was like 4%. And to buy a car, it was like, yeah. These were the good old days, all right? Hold on. Follow me.
How long are we talking about?
All right, so I'm old, and but anyways, so what I ended up doing was I wanted to buy a truck, but the interest rate on it was like 5.75 for a truck, but it was like 4% for the line of credit. So I took a line of credit and bought the truck outright. Now I still have equity in my house. I own my truck outright, and now my payment for the line of credit is lower than what I would have been paying for the truck. So there's a lot of things you can do with equity. A lot of ways that you can use it to your advantage. Leverage it. That's the word I was looking for. That's the fancy word I was looking for. But yeah, you can leverage it. So if you think that you're, I'm putting all my money into this and I can't get it back out, that's not necessarily true. Now, I don't want to overpromise. Like I said, people that bought in 2022, they thought the market was going to keep going up. Well, it didn't, and now it's going down, and so they're kind of stuck for the time being.
I don't know that they.
I don't know. I mean, would you, well, here's the thing. So in our area, a lot of people were moving here, especially like South Austin, where they were building like the Tesla Center, and like a lot of jobs came here. So you kind of had to buy a house, or you had to rent at stupid rates. Like, why not buy? So not all of them were here just because they wanted to, but this area was growing. And I think people thought it was going to keep growing and wasn't going to fall off as hard as it did. I think people thought that it would at least hold steady because of the popularity of the area, but that didn't turn out to be the case, and now they're stuck, and there is that possibility. But the way the market is and where we're at right now, we're kind of at a low point. So the historical data will tell you that within the next year or two, it's going to start coming back, and that means that you could potentially have a good amount of equity.
If you look at the overall trend, it's on par, right? Even those people who are still on par. It's back to
it's just when you're in that situation, when you bought kind of at the peak, then you just have to wait for it to come back up. And a lot of times, historically speaking, if you look at graphs over home values over the years, what happens is when you get to a peak and it comes down, it jumps back up and goes past that peak, past where you own. So now you have equity.
Right.
Now you can do things. Yeah. It's just a matter of timing. Yeah. So buy the house.
Buy the house. Get a good realtor. With Mag Real Estate. I think this is it, right? We got our first webinar.
I think we're done.
We can high five? Yes.
All right. So thank you for everybody who tuned in. Appreciate that. And we will be doing this next Wednesday at 6:30. You will not see us, though. I think you're going to see Tammy and Stephanie, I believe. And I don't know their topic off the top of my head. So
but we'll put it up.
You're going to have to tune in to see it. And we're going to put up an event for it, so you'll see what it's going to be. And we hope you guys tune in. Have a great night.